The government's commitment to net zero by the middle of the century has been welcomed by many Australians, including some who live in Central Queensland. Georgia Simpson has travelled to Gladstone, a city where most mortgages are dependent on heavy industry jobs. Locals there have spoken to Sky News about their general acceptance of phasing out fossil fuels, but concerns remain about its impact on the Sunshine State's economy.
Jacqueline McCosker is from the Central Queensland city of Gladstone, the industrial heartland of Australia.
I come from a fossil fuel household, currently live in one. My mortgage is dependent on fossil fuels. Most of the people I went to school with work in fossil fuels.
Gladstone plays a powerful part when it comes to funding the nation.
It's the economic engine room, or at least one of the economic engine rooms of Australia, coupled with agriculture, the mining and resource sector. This is what pays the bill, this is what generates the income, this is what pays for our hospitals and our schools, our emergency services.
Last financial year, the Port of Gladstone exported 70 million tonnes of coal. Rio Tinto's largest asset base, the alumina smelter, is also located in the regional city.
The overwhelming majority of people would be connected to or work in local industry, that's for sure.
There are in the vicinity of 8,500 people directly employed in the coal industry, in the Flynn electorate. So coal is a really important mineral product for Australia. It's the cheapest energy source that we have.
Naturally, with the population so reliant on heavy industry, there are concerns about what a net zero future will look like. But Jacqueline McCosker believes people in Central Queensland are more accepting of change than Australia may realise.
I think the perception that we don't believe in climate change or we don't want climate action is not correct. We actually know from polls that people in this region believe in climate action as much as people in the city. The only difference is we need to see the plan first because it's our jobs.
Prime Minister Scott Morrison has committed to a net zero target by the middle of the century, but he's yet to release a plan on how this will work.
What we're really worried about is sudden closure, which is something that we've seen in places like Latrobe Valley in Victoria, when you get 4 months warning that there's going to be a massive closure and huge layoffs. That's the sort of thing that people in Gladstone are worried about right now.
I'm not sure what 2050, how it's going to look exactly, but I'm confident that the jobs in the local coal mines and the local coal-fired power stations are not going anytime soon.
Craig Butler owns a quarry, and the rocks it excavates are everywhere. They're crushed and used in our roads, for seawalls which protect against erosion, and in many other concrete products.
Our industry is probably a big user of diesel fuels, and at present there's no alternative to the big crushing and screening machinery and the loaders and excavators.
But he's among many locals conscious of the environment. The business uses solar power and it's not connected to mains water. They recycle everything they can, and he's excited about the future.
Technology is just advancing that quickly that in 10 years' time there might be an alternative to the diesel-hungry machinery that we currently use.
The world's largest green energy hydrogen manufacturing facility will be built right here in Gladstone. It's a $1 billion investment from Fortescue Future Industries and the Queensland government, and already it's creating quite a buzz around the region. Roxanne Beale is as local as they come. She works in real estate, and since the hydrogen announcement, her phone has been ringing off the hook.
The tap has been turned back on, right? It was like from 1 week, and then the inquiries have tripled overnight.
But not everyone is sold on the idea of hydrogen. Colin Boyce says the technology isn't developed enough to produce hydrogen energy on an industrial scale, and he's concerned about a lack of water.
Agriculture doesn't have enough water. We live on the driest habitable continent on the planet. Water is possibly our most precious resource, and there simply isn't enough of it. Everybody better start doing some real commitment into building more water infrastructure, more dams and more weirs and all of those sorts of things to be able to have enough water into the future. Water is life and water's prosperity, and you know, all of the farmers and agriculturalists out there know that, and we simply don't have enough of it now.
He points out hydrogen is volatile. A hydrogen explosion was the cause of a fire at the Callide power station in June that cut power to 500,000 Queenslanders. He wants to explore nuclear.
There is technology out there now for small modular nuclear reactors to power industry and to have a reliable, frequent source of power. Australia's the only G20 country in the world that doesn't have nuclear power. We sell it to the rest of the world. Why don't we use it ourselves?
I'm not a big fan, I'm afraid. I think there's a moratorium on that. We have people knocking on our door every day, 2 people yesterday, and probably more later this week, wanting to talk about where they can invest in future industries and future energy.
Matt Burnett has hinted at possible projects in the pipeline.
One of the projects, and I won't go into who they are or what they might be talking about, could potentially, we have an ocean right there, could potentially use their renewable power to create desalinated water.
If we actually lean into global market trends and embrace this moment, we have the opportunity to position ourselves as the leader in green energy and green manufacturing.
Georgia Simpson, Sky News, Gladstone.